Peppa walked into the store. Miss Rabbit was standing by a vending machine fixing something. Pay attention to the mirror on the wall. In its reflection, a different Miss Rabbit. Black eyes, a mouth stretched ear to ear, black liquid dripping from the corners. Peppa said anxiously,
Miss Rabbit, something's not right.
Miss Rabbit approached the mirror. In her reflection, the same terrifying smile. Her face briefly aligned with the reflection. Black eyes, a wide grin.
Trick of the light, haha.
She said casually. Peppa noticed a mirrored jewelry box on the counter. It was empty inside, the bottom made of mirror. But in the mirror of the box, not Peppa's reflection, but writhing black tendrils reaching downward. It wasn't a window, it was a door. Peppa dropped the box and shattered it. Black liquid seeped from the shards, and thin tendrils crawled out of it. They slowly reached for Peppa's legs. Panicked, Peppa ran deeper into the store and leapt into a dark back room, slamming the door shut. On the back wall, a large antique mirror covered with a dusty cloth. The cloth twitched as if someone were breathing behind it. Suddenly, it flew off by itself. In the mirror, not Peppa, but a distorted version of her. Black eyes, a wide, unnatural smile. Tendrils burst from the mirror, gripping the frame. The reflected Peppa reached a hand through the mirror. Her fingers dripped with black liquid. The real Peppa slowly walked forward, eyes wide. She wasn't moving on her own. There was the sound of glass cracking, distorted Peppa laughter, the rustle of tendrils. Peppa stepped out of the back room. She was smiling, but her eyes flashed red for a split second. A black drop slid from the corner of her mouth, a shard of mirror on the floor. In it, the same horrifying reflection of Peppa flickering. Miss Rabbit's pharmacy. Peppa walked in. The place was empty. Only the neon signs buzzed softly. Behind the counter stood a porcelain mannequin in a white coat, its face smooth and blank. Peppa approached the counter. Two black slits suddenly appeared on the mannequin's face. Thick black liquid oozed from its mouth. The mannequin reached out a hand. Peppa recoiled. The shelves trembled. Something was moving inside the medicine bottles. Tentacles crawled out from under the counter. They slithered toward Peppa. The pharmacist mannequin stepped out from behind the counter. Its movements were sharp and creaky. A grimace of pain formed on its smooth face. Peppa ran toward the storeroom. A vial fell from a shelf and shattered. From the puddle, black finger-like tentacles grew. Pharmacy storeroom. Darkness. The smell of medicine and rot. Peppa lit up the shelves with her flashlight. Boxes were stained with sticky black blotches. Bandages on the floor squirmed like snakes. The beam caught a figure sitting in the corner. Miss Rabbit, wrapped in sticky black bandages. Her eyes were crusted shut. Her mouth was sewn shut with thick black thread. Miss Rabbit's eyes snapped open. They were hollow black voids. Peppa dropped the flashlight. Tentacles from the bandages grabbed her leg. The pharmacist mannequin stood in the storeroom doorway, smiling. Peppa tore free and ran through the front hall. The bottles on the shelves burst open. Black shadows with red eyes crawled out. A chorus of hissing voices. Glass shattering everywhere. Peppa burst through the door and slammed it shut behind her. Pounding from the other side, the door trembled. She turned to the display window. The glass was coated on the inside with thick black fluid. In the reflection stood Peppa, but behind her, the clear silhouette of the pharmacist mannequin. A tentacle hand reaching toward Peppa's neck in the reflection. Real Peppa touched her neck. It was sticky. Peppa was standing by the gate. Suddenly, she heard a whisper with echoes of many voices. Peppa entered the garden. She approached the central apple tree. Its roots protruded from the ground. The branches of the tree suddenly jerked. They formed a huge gaping mouth in the trunk from which a growing whisper escaped. The leaves on the apple tree instantly turned black. They fell off, turning into black dust. Bare branches curled like bony fingers. They reached out to Peppa. She jumped back, looked around, and saw Grandma Pig walking straight toward the tree. Grandma Pig stopped in front of the mouth tree. A frozen smile was on her face. Her lips moved silently. Black tentacles, resembling roots, burst out of the ground and wrapped around Grandma's legs. They crawled higher, up to her waist. Slime left dark stains on her dress. Grandpa Pig stepped outside. He shouted and rushed toward Grandma. He grabbed her by the shoulders, trying to pull her away. New tentacles shot out from the tree's mouth. They wrapped around Grandpa's arms, neck, and torso. His eyes glazed over with horror. The mouth of the tree opened wider. The tentacles began pulling Grandma and Grandpa toward the trunk. Peppa tore herself away and ran through the garden toward the house. She slammed the door shut behind her and leaned against it, heart pounding wildly. The hallway was dark. Curtains on the windows were drawn tightly shut. Silence. Grandma was sitting on the sofa looking at Peppa. Her skin was gray and cracked like bark. Instead of hands dry, gnarled branches. A faint whisper emanated from her mouth, part of the choir. Peppa ran to the kitchen. Grandpa was there, his body covered with black veins like roots. His eyes were glazed over and lifeless. Grandpa stepped forward. His root legs creaked on the floor. From a dark corner of the room came a screeching sound. Monstrous roots slowly emerged from a crack in the floor. A dense ball of black, shiny roots as thick as a hand. In its center glowed two dim red points like eyes. Peppa pressed herself against the locked front door as twisted figures of Grandma and Grandpa moved closer in front of her. The light inside flickered out. Only glowing red eyes of monster roots remained. The last thing Peppa heard were merging whispers of the choir, the voices of loved ones sounding louder than all others. Peppa was warming her hands by the fireplace. A family photo in a frame lay nearby. Papa's face in the photo turned. His eyes became coal black. A smile stretched across his face to his ears. Black drops were sliding down the glass of the frame. Peppa jumped up. She recoiled. The photo under the glass was pulsating. Dark liquid began to appear beneath the frame. Peppa grabbed the frame and ran to the attic. She opened an old chest, threw the photo inside, and slammed the lid shut. A dull thud sounded from inside the chest. Immediately, a second, louder thud followed. Shadows stirred on the walls. They merged into short figures with empty eye sockets. They moved toward the chest. Peppa descended into the basement for a flashlight. Damp stains on the walls were moving, taking on faces from the photo. Distorted, crying faces. In a far corner, an amorphous mass of black sludge and tangled shadows pulsed. Tentacles stretched from it toward the ceiling. Dozens of red eyes on the mass suddenly opened wide and stared at Peppa. Low, shadowy figures crawled out of the mass, creeping toward Peppa across the floor and walls. Peppa ran out of the basement. Standing before her was Daddy Pig, holding that very same frame. Its glass shattered, and inside, the photo had turned black, except for Peppa's silhouette. Black liquid was dripping from the frame onto the floor, sizzling as it hit. I found an old frame in the attic. Daddy's voice sounded metallic and lifeless. Peppa stepped back. Daddy dropped the frame. Black tentacles burst out of it, wrapping around Peppa's legs. Daddy's face began to melt, black drops streaming down as it turned into a shadow. A loud bubbling noise came from below. Suddenly, figures began emerging from darkness. They surrounded Peppa. Peppa pressed herself against a wall. Tentacles squeezed her legs. The shadowy figures approached. More clearly now, they were other family members, all with distorted faces like Daddy's. The black mass climbed up the walls, flooding onto the floor and reaching toward Peppa.